Let me start the recording. So, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's use case team meeting for ODTN. And today we have some topics to discuss, and thanks for joining. So, I'm going to start right away with a little bit more detail on something that we discussed last week, which is the RD design document. Let me actually zoom in a little bit. Yes, perfect. So I just wanted to set the stage a little bit more to make everybody understand what exactly is this RD, reference design document, and the idea that it is a document on which ONF partners and collaborators agree on, both on the side of the service providers and on the side of the supply chain and the vendors community. And the idea is that together, the service providers and the vendors and the supply chain come up with a plan that addresses the requirements of the service providers and can tell the supply chain and the vendors that there is a market for that solution, and those service providers will buy that solution and also invest in that solution. So the supply chain sees the market and they are able to invest in the products that can fit in that solution. And this is also because not a single operator works on something, but multiple operators come together to put the requirements for the RD in place and for the project in place. This way, the supply chain and the vendor community doesn't see one operator and only that operator's slice of the market, but is capable of investing in a product that can fit multiple operators and different markets, and thus there is a better return of investment. That's basically why we are putting the RD together. And somebody last call said that it would be very good to have this reference design document out in the public. We are working towards that. Sorry, come again? Okay. So we are currently working towards this reference design document. And as soon as the ONF partners and collaborators that are working on it agree on a first version of the document, that can go through through a few steps inside ONF. And then when the board approves this document for public consumption, we will share it publicly. But by any means, that document contains something that we are not discussing on this call. Everything that is in that document stems from the reference platform that we were building during this call and during these meetings. And I will be capable of sharing pieces of the documents, if not the document completely, with specific requirements that are derived from, for example, NTT or the likes of Telefonica during the meeting. So that was a little bit of clarification on the RD that I wanted to make. Any questions?
Andreas, this is Bill. Can I just add something?
Yes, please go, Bill. Bill, go ahead.
This is Bill Snow. I think if you come at this from the angle that we've all experienced for many years of there being a requirements document that you build to, then this feels like a very strange and uncomfortable process to go through. And so I think it's important to pull back from that way of thinking. And this is a document that follows the exemplar platform that is being built and is informed from it. And it's a living document. And so the code drives a lot of content for the document. The document then in return drives the code. And so the document grows with the code and kind of keeps a common perspective on where that implementation is going, so that operators don't deviate too much from it, and that there's a common direction on the infrastructure. And I know that it's also strange that only partners get access to it, but that's what the board has decided, and that they only want to have at the beginning the partner operators and partner suppliers be the ones to set this direction. That's part of the benefit of being a partner, being on the board of directors, is setting the strategic direction for these platforms. And just like the code is public, these documents will end up being public when the board decides that they're baked enough, because as a living document, they're going to continue to go through changes just like the code goes through. Okay, it's kind of a new process. It's new for a lot of us, and I understand when there's kind of discomfort, and I also understand people who aren't in companies that are partners feeling maybe like they're left out of it. But I think if you're in the code and if you're in the where these exemplar platforms are going, then you're absolutely 100% in it. So that's all I have to say, Andre. So if anyone has any questions, maybe I can answer them.
Okay, then thanks, Bill. And I believe that any more questions that might arise after this call or during like a rethink or a reread of the notes can also be asked on the ODTN mailing list, or if you don't feel comfortable sharing some of the information you want to tell us, also a private email to me or Bill. A private email to me or Bill can really do the job too, and we will answer any in-depth question that you might have. So now let's talk a bit more about the code that we're building. And thanks to Hiroki, I'm glad to say that we have open source simulators to reproduce the phase 1.0 demo. So unfortunately, there's a bit of workaround that needs to be done to build these emulators on your machine, because they are built on conf.d, and they are not, the conf.d has a license which makes it very impossible to share. So what Hiroki put together is a list of instructions, starting from a base element that we are hosting on a public drive without that can be shared. Then what you need to do is basically get the conf.d installer, put it in the folder, make some changes to the Yang models, and then run it as a Docker container. And you can find all these instructions, I'm not going to go through them right now, in at the link which I provided in the agenda. And if you follow those instructions, you created the emulator, and then you follow the ODTN phase 1.0 demo page, you will be able to set up the phase 1.0 demo of ODTN on your laptop, wherever you are. Obviously, the emulators that Hiroki built are not traffic forwarding emulators. They're just gonna be basically a netconf server that replies to you with the information that you're asking, or saves the configuration that you're trying to store. But you can reproduce the demo and get a feel of how the system works without having any real devices, which I believe it's a big plus. Any questions?
I want to add two things more. And first, some guys want to install this emulator, but it's now ODTN and ONOS internal use only. So you need ONOS G Suite account or some permission to get the G Suite Google Drive. So you should get the account, or if you can't get the account, let me know to get the permission of this emulator. And one more thing, I'll add you need to install the initial configuration or operational state to use this emulator, because it's just a netconf server emulator, and at first it doesn't include any configuration or operation state, so you need to set up these kind of things. And for ODTN phase 1.0 demonstration, I've added some emulators for NEC transport device and the Infineon XT PC00 emulators, which are already installed initial configuration and operation states. So please use these emulators. It is uploaded to the Google Drives.
Thanks, Hiroki, for the details. And if anybody has any questions about that, when he tries the demo and tries the emulators, please do write on the ODTN developers mailing list or an email directly to me or Hiroki, and we can answer any of your technical questions on that side too. So as a third point of the agenda, I want to ask the guys from Telefonica and from Nokia what if they were capable of reproducing the demo, and if they could share in a page or in a document the testing results of their work in phase 1.0. So please, Arturo.
Hi, Andrea, this is Arturo.
Hey, Arturo. Thanks.
Hi. Unfortunately, we didn't move on during this week with the execution of this test. Basically, there are a lot of people in holidays during these days, but I achieved to have approval internally to do this activity. So my plan after this call, it was to people from Nokia in order to arrange plan for this testing of phase 1.0. And based on that, I will be able to give some feedback about when and how this result can be shared.
Okay.
Actually, I have some doubts. But I just to conclude that I had some doubts regarding which was the state of the Nokia driver code before to start the test. But I hope that we can answer to this after the discussion that is put in the agenda.
Yes. I would think we will come to that. And I saw a patch yesterday from Quam, so I think we're in pretty good shape on that side.
If I may, Dominic speaking from Nokia. If I may, I wanted to contacted effectively Telefonica to in fact organize how we can do some reporting at ODTN wiki on the test. I was on holidays last week. That's why I follow up a little bit what has been discussed on the previous use case conference call, but I think we should synchronize in order to report these results jointly with Telefonica.
Sure, Dominic. I think that we can have a separate call after this in order to align.
Yes.
Okay.
So let me then jump to the drivers. I'm gonna move the phase 1.0 with multi-instance to a later time. Just so we keep on the flow. So regarding the state of the drivers, we were just discussing about the Nokia drivers. I saw a patch on Gerrit from Quan. Quan, can you share any more information about it? What's the state of it?
Yes. So basically, I have adjust all of the comments and feedbacks that you, Yuta, and Marx had pointed out, and I'm currently trying to reproduce the phase 1 demo. The emulators are working fine. However, when I run the ONOS controller and I couldn't active the service application. So I got the bugs, and I have posted it on to the Slack channel. So if you guys please have a look on that. And
Oh yes. Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that. Oh, just one quick question: are you running master?
yes,
I see. Or a single instance?
yes,
Then unfortunately, well, the current master is somewhat in a shape which is not perfect for single instance, because as you might know, we have disaggregated the atomics cluster from the ONOS cluster, and in a single instance ONOS that is still under work. So what I would suggest, and I'll share this after this call, I'll give you guys a commit to roll back to in order not to have this issue. And I will update the ODTN mailing list with at the time when we have the single instance ONOS running again perfectly. So my suggestion would be basically all that commit will be from Jordan Halterman, and I will share which commit to revert the ONOS tree to and rebase your patch on top to have the single instance running. This is unfortunately the state of things, which is just with the master before this OWL release. Then OWL release will be done. I'll just put a note to myself to share the commit ID, and I'll post it on the ODTM mailing list so everybody has access to it.
okay, thanks.
Okay, great. Okay. Hiroki, can you share any more details about the Infinera drivers?
Yes, and the Infinera driver I've created has some issues, and now I'm working with Entity Lab members, and now they're fixing these issues. And I discussed yesterday, and now they finished to redesign the drivers basic components. So maybe I think in a couple of weeks they can upload to the Garrett to review.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for that. And Alessio, can you share more details about the Metro Hall Open Config drivers? If Alessio's in the call, I didn't check.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly fine. Thanks, Alessio.
Okay. Hello. Yes. Essentially, we are working on. I'm working with also Ramon on the driver that is available already in the master distribution, and we are trying to make it interworking with our open config agent that is essentially based on open on confd as the one shared in the open source simulator. So we are working in it. We can also try to reproduce the phase 1.0 demo just to evaluate if the system is working well. Nothing else. We can also think eventually, if this is not violating the confd license, to share with you with the ODTN the agent, in the sense I can provide the models and an IP address where the confd where the confd server is running, so that anyone can do some testing.
Okay.
I don't know if this is of interest or not.
I think it would be very of interest, but I might be violating the confd license. I have to go through it again. So just to make sure that we don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
One quick question: which version of OpenConfig are you using? The master
Still, I'm
OpenConfig?
not able to respond to this point because the agent expert is not here now. So I will check and I will inform you on this.
This is Ramon speaking. We're doing jointly work with Alessio, and I can comment a bit on this. We're doing more or less the same thing. It's basically the same research project. In fact, the current ONOS implementation of the OpenConfig driver for ODTN is from Metro Hall. I just ported it with the criteria that Hiroki and Yuta we were discussing by email, and in our agent, which is also emulated via confd in a very similar way to what Hiroki now proposed, we are using the same Yang models that are in the ONOS distribution. So when I was setting up the confd agent, I was feeding the exact same models that were currently in ONOS, which are not the latest one. They are not master, but it's the ones that were in the ONOS distribution.
Okay.
I found a couple of minor glitches with some minor model that I sent to the mailing list a couple of months ago to the ODTN mailing list, but it was not needed for the agent. We will, at a later stage, we would move on directly to the OpenConfig mailing list. So now to clarify, it is a question also that Alessio and we were discussing. Right now, the status of this is our driver is mostly implementing the device discovery behavior. So it's able to pass the port, any kind of data that you can have on. But as I raised on the last week, we still have the question of what kind of behavior we want to implement for actually using the device. Alessio was discussing about flow behavior, so that kind of things. It's still unclear to us, but this is something that the vendors of the project need to comment on. What kind of trigger do we have to actually use the device? In some email, in the mailing list, we were discussing of having pre-configured logical channels that are mapped to the optical channel, and then the actual activation of the service is a logical channel association, that kind of things. This is still to be discussed, and this is something that we don't see how to move on yet. Ideally, it should try to match some existing ONOS behavior, but it's still not clear to us.
May I ask to Hiroki, in the Infinera drivers, what are you using?
Now we're using the logical channel assignment driven behavior, which Ramon mentioned, but maybe we don't have any general understandings about this point, so we need to discuss which OpenConfig model and the component and Yang component are needed to implement ODTN phase, even ODTN phase 1.0 and phase 1.5 for optical media channel aspects.
Yes, and
if I can comment on that.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead after you.
No, please, Ramon, go ahead.
My point is that, as you know perfectly well, in phase 1.0, it was basically a one-to-one mapping between a client port and a line port. So any kind of configuration was reasonably okay because we were just cross-connecting inside the OpenConfig device. So any behavior which is mainly turn it on worked. I believe that for phase 1.5 or 2.0, we need to be a bit more fine and thinking of what kind of tributaries, what kind of data signals, and what kind of operations we do on the terminal device. Otherwise, the behavior remains very high level, like system on, and every driver ends up implementing whatever it sees fit. We have to discuss if we can do assumptions like there are already pre-existing optical channels in the device, or we have to configure ourselves. What kind of associations do exist? Do we have a plain a mapping of a client side to a line side, that kind of things were still very open and were not needed for phase.1.
Okay, Ramon, can I ask you to start an email thread on these open questions so everybody can chime in on an email?
Yeah, I saw your email thread that you started. I didn't comment on that because I was expecting vendors to comment on it. It's on that line. I could eventually follow up, but to be honest, I'm on holidays. So if someone else can take care of that, it would be great. Or we can eventually wait until the 20th of August, more or less.
Okay, yeah. Let's see if anybody from the vendors can comment on my latest thread regarding the service agnostic, vendor agnostic service definition and the models. That would be great. Otherwise, I will just pick a solution and share it with everybody. And yeah, I'll continue on that thread and discuss more also with Hiroki and other people and come up with at least a proposal to see that if everybody agrees on that. Does that sound good? Okay.
Just a comment, Hiroki, if you can share the that documentation with Finera, that would be great.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
Stefan speaking. If you can share this with Finera, that would be great.
Yeah, we will share with everybody. Sorry, Alessio, I muted you, but it was kind of noisy in the background. So yes, me and Hiroki will discuss about this, and we will share it with the mailing list on the thread I started last week.
Sorry, Andrea, this is Arturo. So let me see if I understood correct, which is going to be the procedure. I checked the mail that you sent about this definition of the behavior. I saw that right now what it is, let's say, provided as a reference is the Infinera implementation, or let's say model or proposal. I think that this is in the line on what we should do, but I think that what we will need is basically to define which is the workflow that the controller need to implement when a connectivity service is demanded. No, I mean it's I think that the basic thing is that we define the workflow that this controller need to implement, and based on that workflow, we will be able to see more clearly which is the configuration that need to be defined based on open config models. I do agree that one of the considerations that we should do is to define which kind of constructs are assumed to be, let's say, installed in the devices before any configuration, which logical channels, with optical channels, which is the initial, let's say, configuration of the transponder. And also based on that, I think that the initial configuration plus the workflow is going to help us to define which is the steps and which are the operations. Just to mention something that I said last session, in Telefonica, we have developed test cases document on which we basically have been testing different operations based on open config models of the transponders, and maybe what it will be missing there, I mean, basically what we have is, let's say, atomic operations that you can do based on open config models into the transponders. Maybe based on that atomic operations, if we can define a workflow, these definitions of the test cases or atomic operations that we have defined can be used in order to, let's say, to implement the workflow that is needed for phase 1.0 or for phase 1.5. If you want, or if you think that is convenient, I can also reply to the latest mail on the thread that you mentioned it and upload this document so everyone can have a look on it and maybe to to discuss if it is worth to take some information from there or not. Okay.
Yes, that would be great, Arturo. Thanks a lot. If you could share that on the mailing list and reply to that thread, that would be great. And I'll try to define the workflow from top to bottom, in very specific details. Also talking about the classes themselves. So, and I'll put it up on the wiki, so everybody can see what, at least from my point of view, would be expected. And then it's a matter of implementing the specifics of the device and the models inside behavior, but at least as we have the defined workflow. I'll share that as soon as possible. I have to talk probably to Hiroki today to understand some components of what they are doing, but I will do that. Okay, so for phase 1.0, I put together, with the help of Hiroki, a blog post sharing the phase 1.0 demo of NTT with Infinera devices. I was holding off the publication of this blog post because I really wanted to put in also Telefonica and with Nokia. So what I can do is, since Juan is trying to reproduce the demo, I can give a deadline of 1 week from now. And if the demo is capable of being reproduced in a week, and you guys can share some results, and you can take a look at the document. It's not a lot of. It doesn't require any very low level details. It just says that you're capable of reproducing the demo, and it's just that I want to make sure that you are capable of reproducing the demo before writing that it was successful also on your side. And whenever you are, we can publish this this blog post and share it with the community. And I think it would be a very good plus for our project, and it would be also very good to share by sharing some of the results we had. Any thoughts?
I I would like to thank you very much for this work. I think it's a very good idea, and also thanks for waiting us 1 week more in order to provide results for this. I think that we can align between Nokia and us to deliver something for next week.
Yes, perfect. Thanks, Arturo. And I know that it's just to put a point in time where we said, okay, we achieved a phase 1.0, even if there are some discussion that still need to happen. For example, the logical assignment that we were discussing, logical channel assignment, or the vendor agnostic service definition. But at least we have a fixed point in time where we said, okay, phase 1.0, it's there. And I think also this is a big useful thing for us to attract more people to the project, because if a project has results, people are more willing to contribute to it. So I think this will be very interesting also for attracting new partners and collaborators to the project itself. Okay. One question that I want to ask to everybody here in the meeting is: did anybody try the phase 1.0 demo with a multi-instance ONOS deployment?
No, I didn't.
No? Okay.
No, not yet.
Okay, then I think this is a to-do to be done. I'll try to capture this on the Scrum board, and we will discuss the Scrum board next week.
Sorry, Andrea, this is Ramon. Can you briefly summarize what's the issue? I've been following a bit the mailing list that you said that there is architectural changes. So in very simple terms, I've been using a ONOS local, a single controller to control, let's say, 15 netconf devices. I wasn't using any kind of redundancy, and I was using master. So what are the implications now?
So let's do a step back. There are two things here. One thing was the problem that I mentioned before to Juan, which is the fact that master is currently in a state which is not usable for single instance, but is just master at this point in time. In about 2 weeks, we will release the all release, and we will in 1.14.0 master release, the single instance ONOS will still be usable. That is one problem. The other element that I was discussing in this point was that usually ONOS, for redundancy, is deployed in a 3, 5, 7 node cluster. To make scalability and in-service software upgrade even better than what we had right now, Jordan and the core team decoupled the atomics cluster, which is the cluster that saves the ONOS state, meaning, for example, flow rules, devices, ports, groups, those information. The dynamic configuration store is based on those primitives. So there is this atomic cluster that shares the state, and then on top of it, now we have a ONOS instance cluster, which was the ONOS cluster before, that communicates to this atomics cluster. But in the end, you should not really care about this. What I'm asking in this point is that we should test in a multi-instance environment, which is going to be deployed on 3 nodes of atomics, probably, and 3 nodes of ONOS, the interaction with the devices through phase 1.0. But I can take over this point and share the test results and how to achieve these results, and that I can easily take on that point, and I will do it at a point in time where I'm sure that the clustering works as expected, in order not to encounter any bugs that are not related to ODTN. And I will sync up with Jordan and Tom about it, and I will keep you posted during the weekly meetings.
Another minor question. I read that we're changing the build system. Is no longer back, or it has an implication as well?
So yes, we are also moving from back to Bazel, and I know these seems a lot of changes, but actually the move from back to Bazel doesn't make any change for us. And also the moving from decoupling atomics to the ONOS cluster doesn't make any change for us. We are opaque users of these elements. Regarding the moving from back to Bazel, I would suggest everybody to get into the TST call next week. Tomorrow, actually, not next week, tomorrow, where Tom and Ray will share details about the Bazel build of ONOS. But it really makes no difference to the back files from the back files. If you compare two files, the back file and the Bazel file, the difference is really, really small, but it makes a huge difference in terms of performance and the capability of setting up caches, and the possibility of losing the POM files completely in favor of Bazel files. So during the O release, we will have a Bazel build, and then during the following releases, we will remove the POM and the BUC file. But
okay. Thanks, clear.
Tomorrow there is a TST meeting on that, and if anybody has any questions, I can answer them, and I can also provide a link to, as soon as it gets done, to a document that shows how to build ONOS with Bazel as soon as it's possible. For now, until 1.14 is released, BUC is still the official build method. Is that clear?
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So the fact that the syntax is similar, it's really relieving.
Yes. I mean, let me see if I can actually. I'll send an email out, and you will see that during the TST tomorrow. I don't want to burn time right now. We have still some points, but it's very, very similar, the BUC file and the Bazel files. And we did the porting for all the BUC files that are in the current repository. So basically, The ODTN app is already ported, the drivers are already ported, so you don't have to do anything. And if you want to take an example, just download master and check those files. Okay. I think that the phase 1.5 behaviors needs to be more defined. Point goes with the vendor agnostic service definition point that we discussed before. So I'm just gonna skip that and defer to a later meeting where I do some more investigation about it. And that, yes, please. No, that was an echo. Okay. Now, this morning, I joined the TAPI meeting, and thanks to everybody who is in that working group, and I see some of you people in the call. And it was a very interesting meeting to learn about all the modeling details that are getting picked up, and I think it's a very valuable group to have. Regarding the state of TAPI 2.1, the first RC candidate is expected to be mid of August. So in about 15 days from now. But for many of the elements that we need, meaning the connectivity tag to be used against OLSs, that is in a fairly good shape in the current master. So, and please, Stefan or what's his name called, Nigel or Lyndon, please correct me if I'm wrong, but or Andrea, we could use the existing connectivity piece of TAPI to start thinking about the files and the interfaces and the implementation that needs to be put into ONOS in order for it to talk with a TAPI 2.1 compliant OLS system. Is that a correct assumption?
Kartik, we don't have not the SIP, but the SIP defining the current one. So how we can go and make a connectivity request?
No, it's there actually in the current develop branch. You see the draft is in there, and we'll update it within this week, I think. So we should be good actually.
The SIP?
But there is a draft. Yeah, SIP is also in there in the develop branch. Yeah, not the master, the develop. So in TAPI, we only update the master when we get the official release.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
So our develop branch is the one that you need to look at.
Yeah, because what they need is they just need the SMC. Yeah? By the way.
Yeah. Just look at so Stefan, just look at the SIP in the current develop branch.
Mm.
Yeah.
If you need to update it, just make an update.
Yeah. The SMC is quite doable with the current model anyway. It's just that you haven't got the layer qualifier. That's all. So
yeah.
Actually, everything is in there, Nigel.
Oh,
everything is in there. Just have a look at the develop branch. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Okay, I'll check that.
Okay.
Again.
So yes. So Andrea, sorry for the side discussion. Yes, you can look at the develop branch as is today, but we'll be updating it this week. So if you want to not to waste some cycles, probably it's good to wait a week and then get whatever is in the develop branch and analyze it.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah. But within 2 weeks or so, 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be tagging it as an RC. So that would be even more stable.
Oops. Okay, I'll capture that.
Yeah, if you would wait a week, it would be great.
Yeah, and Andrea, for the 1.5, you only need to have the SMC aspect of it. And if you're doing, are you doing multi-carrier on the 1.5?
Not to my understanding.
If you're doing single carrier, you can even just go and make the connect because we're not doing power control up front.
So 1.5 is very simple, Stefan. It's like single carrier, symmetric, open line. I mean, it's a line system.
Yeah,
I think there is nothing to it. No complexity. Probably no OEM.
Yeah, so it's
I mean,
just about the
from ONOS
definition
point
of
of view, we are not looking at OEM. We are not doing like full-fledged management.
yeah. So that will be the lower and upper frequency parameter
That's it. That's pretty much it.
on the SMC that will contain the SMCA that will contain only one SMC.
Right, one SMC, one NMC. It's even a single OTSI. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, it's one OTSI, one NMC, one SMC, one. It's one.
And one line system. It's a line system,
One
not
line
road
system,
on,
yeah,
not a mesh. Right.
Yeah, on the line system, we will not need to have the OTSI in this case because we don't have the OEM.
That's right, exactly.
No, yeah, and it's a single OTSI anyways. The current use case. So it's very simple. Yeah.
So the OTSI and the OTSI
on the transponders. On the transponder.
Yeah, that's right.
On the OLS, it's on the SMC and the NMC.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right.
The entire use case is much simpler.
And the
we should be able to do it for 1.5.
Yeah. The SMC is straightforward as well, really, isn't
it? Can I ask one of you to put together these points that you just outlined me in one email, in the sense, okay, for phase 1.5, you just need this 4 elements that we have. It would be great for me to have that.
I can do that, Kartik. I will look at the model and put a slide in text.
Thanks. That would be great. And if you can send it over via email, I can share it with the group, or you can just share it yourself with the ODTN mailing list. That would be great, Stefan. Thanks a lot for that.
Okay.
Okay. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna try to summarize this very, very quickly. I just want to know, going forward to in phase 1.5, which is the state of the different equipment racks that the different operators have, and if any of those racks need creation or need augmentation for phase 1.5. So I know NTT has NEC and Infinera transponders in their lab, but no OLS, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, that's correct. But these transponders are in Japan, so we don't have any devices in the Bay Area.
That's perfectly fine. But you have a rack which on top you're currently working on in Japan. And it can be augmented with the OLS at the right moment in time, correct?
Yes, maybe we can. Let me confirm about that.
Yes, absolutely. So Telefonica, what is the state of your equipment? Can you share that?
Basically, we have a couple of transponders from Nokia. This basically was belong to another activity, so it is not just dedicated for the ODTN activity, but probably if we discuss with them, we will be able to use them in further test. But I need to confirm with them. So we have it already, but I don't know if they are going to be kept in the lab for more time, especially related with the auditing activity.
And what about the open line system? Do you guys have an open line system in your test lab that you are going to use to test phase 1.5?
Well, ideally, yes, but also I will need to discuss with the owners in order to understand their implication on it. But yes, probably we will account with more than one OLS for phase 1.5.
Okay, that's
great.
Hi,
this is Gary. This topic had come up previously, and we had discussed with our business unit, and they were willing to consider deploying our OLS tool in the Telefonica lab with TAPI. I forgot exactly. I think it was 2.02. Hopefully sometime in the coming months. And I think that timetable was to be worked out more exactly. But yeah, I
Thank you.
think that was doable.
Okay, thanks for that. Tim, Roberto, do you have anything in your labs?
No, we don't have anything running OpenConfig.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. So this the following point is the following 2 points are really connected together. So the first one is that while we wait for TAPI 2.1 to be defined and for us to plummet through the system and different OLSs to be compliant with it, I would still like to have a proof of concept for phase 1.5 with existing OLS system. For example, in the case we were just discussing with TAPI 2.02 with the Nokia OLS. So I think this is a subsequent point of me sharing, me understanding TAPI 2.1 and understanding the workflow that needs to be done for phase 1.0 in terms of classes, code classes. And then I can come back and with a clear ask for an implementation for example, the Nokia OLS. So if everybody's okay with that, I will come up with the workflow and a clear ask for an implementation.
That will be great, actually.
Okay, so last 2 points. A date and a demo for location for phase 1.5. We are targeting phase 1.5 if I'm not mistaken, January, like in 3 months from now. 4. I need to look that up. But I would like to. Sorry, I would like to look at the possible venue to showcasing a demo of phase 1.5 as IPOP 2018 was for phase 1.0 and NTT with NTT. Does anybody have any thoughts about it? We could definitely do OFC next year, but that is more in the likes of 6 months than I would prefer to do something before. Does anybody have any thoughts?
If possible, and we can do some demonstration at the ONF Connect.
Yes.
In December.
That is definitely a great option, and thanks, Hiroki, for bringing that up. I was actually thinking about that too. That is in December. And let me give everybody here a bit of a context for that. So ONF is planning a 3 or 4 days event in December, and I can share more details about it. And I'll put the link in the agenda so everybody here can follow up and read through it. And it's going to be all about the ONF related projects, and we as the ODTN project could share a phase 1.5 demo at that point in time. What that would mean is that we would probably need hardware, both from the transponder's point of view and the OLS point of view. And I would also like to do it with different set of hardwares and different people. Would that work? Do you think would be a good? Does everybody think it's a good target, December for phase 1.5?
I think it's a good target, but I don't know if it is going to be possible to finish it, but for sure, it's a good target.
I mean, we could strive for it to the top, to the best we can, and I think that putting a fixed date for a demo is actually very helpful for putting the work together also. And also another idea that I had during this week was that I believe we should really do a work week, and if the December ONF Connect event is a good event for the demo, I believe we could also, if most of you would be available, organize an in-person meeting at the same time, before or after the event, in order for us to align on the remaining work for after the demo and also for phase 2.0. Would that be of interest?
Andrea, where will be that ONF Connect?
Oh,
Which
yes.
location?
Yes, Stefan, thanks for that. It would be in Santa Clara, California.
Okay.
Would an in-person meeting work in those dates in California, or since a lot of people here are from Europe, it would be preferable to have a European city as an in-person work week?
Well, personally speaking, I think that it will be difficult for me to travel to California, but I also will discuss internally, because Victor will be in the West Coast during the next months, and probably he will be able to attend, but I need to confirm with him.
Yes, and I'm probably meeting him in the next days, so I can also discuss that with him. Anybody else?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be able to attend if it is here. Yeah, no problems.
Okay, then we might keep it at the ONF Connect, and I will share more details about it and put together a possible meeting plan for that time. And I also believe the TAPI group should organize an in-person meeting, as with the core build last year, to align on the future steps.
Right. Yeah, we already have a plan to. We have a week-long plan during that week.
Oh,
go ahead, Nigel. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same thing, Carly. No, I was saying exactly the same. So Core and Tapia are meeting that week to be there. Yeah. So yeah, it's been greater logistics challenges, but you know.
When is the next face-to-face on the ONF?
Our intention was to have that there, wasn't it, Carly?
Right. Our intention was to have it during the ONF Connect, but just last week, Andrea myself were discussing, we may need an interim meeting. We'll have to figure out how to do it.
Before, yeah, that's right. That's separate from this discussion, though. And our intention was to be there at the Connect meet, though.
Okay, so that would be great. So since we're already out of time, I would just like to share that link with you. This is the configuration document that me and other people at ONF put together for the Dynamic Configuration 2.0 implementation that addresses some of the shortcomings we have encountered in Dynamic Configuration 1.0, which was used in phase 1.0 for DTN. At the moment, this is delayed until the O release of ONOS gets done, so no work will be done on this until the O release, the release of OWL. But so please, there is time for you to give any comments and any suggestions and any thoughts you have on that topic. Please add it to the document I've just shared, and this tries to capture all the requirements we have for ODTN phase 1.5 and onwards regarding configuration. And this goes in depth detail, and it stems from a presentation that Utah made to the Dynamic Configuration Brigade a while ago.
I have a question. It's like the minute meeting out there. Do you have a link of that in the wiki?
Oh, these minute meetings? No, I'm gonna add them.
You just have a link so we can point to Google, because it's all in Google Doc.
Yes, I will do that. But the document is public. But agreed that the link is not there. Okay, I will do that. And as always, I will share the recording after the meeting, so everybody can actually go back and look at it. And it will be public on YouTube, as I've shared with the mailing list of ODTN. So you guys can also more easily share it with anybody of your peers who is interested in participating in the project. Are there any questions, thoughts, any other points that we should address?
Sorry, I just wanted to mention, I wrote something very fast. I would strongly recommend submitting something for OFC. These last 2-3 years, we have been organizing the SDN and NFV demo zone in OFC for research projects. I think in OFC 2017, ONOS was there. Last year, Alessio and several other people were presenting several research projects also using ONOS. Alessio did a demo of Lumentum. It could be an open ROADM or any kind of similar device. And in my opinion, it's a very good event to show this, especially ODTN. Last year also, I think there was an invited talk that we proposed for ODTN as well. We still didn't decide the actual deadline. I think it's for regular papers, it's in October. We're still thinking whether we leave some extra time for OFC demo proposals, but consider that you have to submit a proposal in October, and then the demo takes place during OFC in San Diego in March. So, well, to be kept in mind, it is likely that other researchers will do similar demos, but having an official demo of the ODTN project would be very nice.
Yeah, we did some in the SDN demo. We did something related to power control and the model that we're using, like having a controller and the transponder and the line system. We did a demo at the SDN, so and it was very good. So it's very good place to demonstrate. It can be just video. You don't need to have all the equipment. It can be video. That's good enough.
Okay. And yeah, I will definitely consider this. And I know Mark and always other people attended OFC, so I will be doing my best to attend also this year, and I will take a look and submit and create a proposal, share it with you guys, and then submit it. Okay, so. Thanks a lot, everybody, for the discussions. It was great. I think we have some to-dos and some things to follow up with. Especially myself, I have to create the workflows for the transponder and for the OLS. Nokia and Telefonica have to try the phase 1.0 demo so we can include them in the blog post. And NTT and Infinera need to finish up the driver for their devices and share it with share it on Garrett. And there are some other to-dos I will follow up with. So if nobody else has anything else, I guess we can see each other next week.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Andrea.
That's fine. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Andre.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.